Kev, hope you're doing okay. It is absolutely boiling hot today. I hope you can hear me okay. I have a fan going. I think I would be dead without it. It is insanely hot, but and I have to wear gloves in this heat. Yay! But yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. I hope you're coping okay. It has been like really dripping hot today, so yeah, not my favorite kind of weather, I will admit. I'm going to work in relatively small increments of clay today because with this heat it will just dry out as fast as I'm using it, really. Which is not what I want. So looks like my epoxy clay is not doing too well in the heat either. I'm getting a lot of dry clay in my hardening compound, which isn't ideal either. Yeah, it really is. Especially for some reason, it's the hardening compound with my epoxy sculpt. The part A doesn't really get affected by much, but the part B really does, unfortunately. It is what it is. I need to get some new stuff probably. It's just so crazy expensive though, like nearly 40 quid just for like these. So it's not something I really want to have to invest in until I have to, if you see what I mean. Play the never-ending game of are the two the same size? No, what's in that? Something apparently. I think that one is very slightly larger, so I'm gonna get that out. Still too large. Planned to have a video out last week. That obviously did not happen. I got 2/3 of the way through filming it and ran out of glue for the project I was making, so that was immensely unhelpful. So now I've got to go down to the shop and get some more glue in order to be able to finish that video, so that will be this week's video now. I'm kind of jealous, honestly. Like, some of my neighbours have got swimming pools. I want a swimming pool. Well, like, they've got inflatable ones. Vladimir, welcome. Sweltering heater, yeah. It is awful. It's been like over 30 here today. I have a fan on currently because I can't survive without one. I hope everyone is staying hydrated. It feels like the UK has suddenly become inspired to be Australia. But to be fair, Australia would probably be more tolerable because they typically have dry heat. UK heat is just really humid. I don't like humid heat. Don't mind dry heat as much. You might remember this guy from my first stream. This is what I was working on when the quality was absolutely shit, but this is the Carousel Horse that I'm building. And that's what I'm going to be carrying on with today, but first of all I'm going to be sculpting the join between this stablemate and her tail. This tail, ironically, actually originally belonged to the model I used for this. But I took it off because obviously he's going to get like a pony, carousel ponytail, but she came without one, and I was like, well, that's not ideal. And then I was digging through my box of old Schleich bodies and stuff where I keep all of the bits and pieces that I use for drastics, and found this loose tail which fits her almost perfectly. So I've glued that on, and yes, I'm going to sculpt that join before I do anything else. She also might need a new nose because hers looks like it got squashed. She has no nostrils, which is also not great. So I'm just going to quickly do those on her, and then the majority of this stream will be building this. I'm also going to be building up some of the sculpted saddle that a lot of carousel ponies wear as well. So let's fix. By H2O we are watered. We are indeed. We are indeed. Hey Lucy, welcome, welcome. How are you today? Not dying in the heat, I hope. I am. It is unbearable where I am at the moment. No heat for you. My goodness, aren't you lucky? I have to come and join you instead. Having a proper heat wave where I am. I thought last summer here was really hot, but this just proper takes the cake. Cat and Spike, hello. Somehow missed Wales. Yeah, see, that's just another reason I should live in Wales. No heat wave. Doing it wrong. Of course I am. Hope you're doing okay and not dying in this heat wave. Streams are relaxed after all the politics, yeah. No politics here. Only sculpting and small plastic ponies. Hi, Cousin the Reptiles. How are you? Spike on the front balcony cooling off. The back balcony is a furnace. Oh yeah. I haven't even really been outside today except to go down to the shed to get some of my sculpting materials, that is. But that was quite enough for me. It's brutal out there at the moment. I mean, it was yesterday as well, to be fair. It didn't really start cooling off until, oh goodness, I don't know, like nearly probably 9 o'clock, to be honest. Which is absolutely crazy. Right, as I'll do for her tail. Right, now what can you do for your nose? Because you definitely need a nose job, that's for sure. Going back to looking at car parts, enjoy the speed. Yeah, no problem, thank you for stopping in. Always nice to see you. Right, it's right in theory. Still be a little large for your teeny tiny snout. So I'm going to 11.5. Make 2 smaller ones instead. Let's try that. I will admit, sculpting this small is not something I have ever really attempted. I do typically most of my work, the smallest I've gone in the past has been schlikes, of course. So, but I have recently begun getting into my stablemates a lot more. I have quite a lot of them because I started collecting them, I mean, quite a long time ago now, to be honest. But most of them came to me in body condition rather than display condition. And I never really considered that my sculpting skills were up to fixing them, mostly because I attempted sculpting a couple of manes on them, and the results were far from what I wanted, and I decided that clearly I wasn't there yet, so they've all been set on a shelf, not being touched for the best part of probably 3 or 4 years. But I have recently decided to begin customizing a few of them because I think they've been waiting for long enough. Loads of fans, 2 18-inch industrial ones too. That sounds great. I've got a little upright one at the moment, which is diligently doing its job. is the air outside. The wind is so warm. It's crazy. It's not a relief at all. If anything, it just makes it all feel worse being out in it. When is my next driving lesson? I haven't booked one yet. I'm not a regular pupil yet, so what I do is I let my driving instructor know times that I will be available, and he then gets back to me if a lesson comes up as free at the moment, because he is in quite high demand. So at the moment it's on a sort of as and when he has availability basis. But I'm hoping in the future that will become a more regular thing, because if I can get my license hopefully sometime later this year, that would obviously be preferable. How much I pay for my lessons? My lessons are £40 for an hour, which is pretty much the standard rate for driving lessons in the UK now. You won't really find lessons for under that. When I had lessons 5 years ago, before the pandemic hit, and it was 30 back then. But obviously, things have changed, and what with inflation and everything since then. So yeah. Mum tried to teach me a bit after I stopped my driving lessons back then due to COVID, but it turns out driving a manual is just not for me. So I'm having auto lessons now. Right, that is your tail and mane done. Leave you there, and let's move on. Yeah, I know, expensive, right? But I mean, to be fair, he was worth it. I will say that he's an excellent driver, excellent driving instructor. So yeah. Going to start off with building up some knee joints, I think, because that then dictates the widest part of the centre of the leg, and then I can sculpt the lower leg according to that. Thankfully, this is now easier to sculpt on. The last time I was sculpting on this, my clay kept running away because I was putting it over the wire, and epoxy does not like sticking to wire. It's probably the only thing it doesn't want to stick to. So now at least it's all staying still, and I have a firm surface that I can put pressure onto while I'm sculpting. This project is quite near and dear to my heart, as carousel horses are quite possibly one of my favourite things in the world. I mean, I love all kinds of vintage fairground stuff in general. I'm also a huge fan of mechanical organs as well. But there's something incredibly whimsical and nostalgic about a carousel pony. I've often dreamed of someday being able to restore one, but for now this is about as close as I'm going to get. $600 to insure someone for a year, that's insane. it's not really a matter of dexterity, it's more the fact that my coordinational skills aren't great. I couldn't master the clutch no matter how I tried, and I couldn't juggle like using the clutch and the changing gears as well as keeping my eyes on the road. It just wasn't really working out for me. Whereas in an auto I don't have to worry about that because the car does it for me, so I can actually focus on the road and all of that, which is already proving to be far better. I'm able to drive without feeling stressed now, so I would call that an improvement. Thank you, Kev, that's much appreciated. I genuinely do appreciate every single one of the people that comes and watches my streams and videos ever so much. You have no idea how much it means that you would be willing to take some time out of your day and spend it here with me. And I mean, that honestly still blows my mind sometimes that people would be interested enough in what I do to do that. So yeah, that genuinely means the absolute world. Past first time, wow. You must have done a great job then. In this hot weather, how much reduced is your painting time due to it drying too quick? Well, I mean, honestly, that does very much depend on the heat itself. Right now, I'm not really doing any painting, and unfortunately, I also can't really seal models either at the moment because it's really, really humid. And unfortunately, humidity means that paint dries sticky. It doesn't cure properly because there's too much moisture in the air. So that's another reason I elected to do sculpting this evening as opposed to painting, because the paint just doesn't dry properly. I have a bunch of models in the studio at the moment that are waiting to be sealed, that already have all of their like pastels and paints and stuff waiting to be sealed in, but I can't do that unfortunately until this humidity goes because it'll just end up damaging them otherwise, and then I'll have to strip them back and start again, and I really don't want to have to do that. So yeah, at the moment I'm just trying to be patient, biding my time, and I'll get back to those once the weather permits. As always, I'm really sorry if I keep accidentally taking what I'm working on out of the screen. I find it really hard to remember that there's a camera there that I'm supposed to stay in front of, because I'm not looking at it, obviously, and my attention span drifts off. So if you can't see what I'm doing, don't hesitate to let me know in chat, because I probably haven't noticed. Painted this place with water-based glosses. It doesn't yellow, but skin oils break it down over a few years into jelly. Ooh, that doesn't sound good. It sounds like a bit of a disaster. Yeah, gooey paint. That sounds awful. Ooh, yeah. I can tell it's warm because this stuff is drying even while I'm working with it. The thing with epoxy, it's technically chemically curing, but it definitely cures slower in a cold environment as opposed to a hot one, that's for sure. The only good thing about it is that because it is chemically curing, I don't need to worry too much about whether or not it's too humid, because it doesn't need to be air drying. Right, I need a pen. Where did I put all my pens? Aha, there it is. Because I am not sculpting this saddle without a guideline, otherwise I'm going to get it hopelessly off-centered. So let's see how wide I want that to be. And there for that, and then let's see, let's come back to about probably there. Like that, and then kind of see where my old guidelines were, but they've gotten scrubbed off a bit as I've been handling it. Right, that ought to do. Now I have some lines that I can sculpt on. Hopefully make a relatively symmetrical saddle. Have I made anything yet with the fabrics? I have not. But what I have done is I have begun to figure out some of the issues I've been having with my sewing machine, because unlike with the leather that I usually use, obviously I can't ring stitch fabric by like punching holes in it and putting string through, so I have to sew it using a sewing machine, obviously. I have an old Singer sewing machine. It's technically my mum's, but I use it a lot, which I use for all my sewing projects, and I have been drafting patterns for the things I want to make with it as well. So once this heat wave is over and I can actually get the fabric out and take a look at the patterns and where I want to put the fabrics and stuff, then you should be seeing some things made out of some of those fabrics in my shop, which I'm quite excited for, because some of them are absolutely gorgeous. Right, so let's get the back piece on the saddle. Yummy mummies will love them. That more or less, using a ballpoint tool might work a little better for sculpting in a curve. As with real carousel ponies, I want very much to be able to give the illusion that this was sculpted from a block of wood and then painted. So the goal of this project really is not to make it look like a real horse. It's supposed to have that iconic, stylized look that carousel ponies are known for. So currently he doesn't have a head, as you've probably noticed, but that's because his head needs significant resculpting. The head of this model was a lot too small for the model itself, originally anyway, so it had to come off, but I want to open the mouth, which I've already cut it in half to do so, but and then chuck some teeth in there so that it has that open-mouthed, wild-eyed look that's so classic of a carousel pony. What country buys most of my figures? The US, hands down. I have sold more ponies to Americans than I have to any other country, and it's the same with my Etsy shop. To be honest, I sell more of my leather things and pyrography to the States than anywhere else as well. So yeah, most of my demand really seems to be in America and Canada, Canada as well. But yeah, over that direction mostly. Do I have custom problems with that? No, not typically. Um, they just go with toy horse on the box because that's really all they are. The fact that they're modified doesn't change the fact that they are just a collectible miniature at the end of the day. I've honestly never had any issues shipping a horse anywhere, to be entirely honest. Yeah, can't see that happening. I highly doubt that he even knows that horses exist. Never mind model ones, to be entirely honest with you. Let go of my glove, you obnoxious piece of clay. The most annoying thing in the world when the clay decides that it likes my gloves better than whatever I'm trying to stick it to. Right, let's try that again. Looks like I'm actually going to need to shorten that slightly. What clay is it? It's epoxy sculpt, which it's the same kind of thing as Milliput. I used to use Milliput actually. I still do use Milliput for a lot of projects. The only reason I switched to epoxy for model horses is that it has a longer work time. Milliput only really has sort of it's not going to work. My clay is drying out too fast. That's a pain. Yeah, Milliput only really has 17 minutes work time, and about 4 of that is for mixing in the first place. And because I'm quite a slow sculptor, that obviously doesn't work for me. So I use it for making like big blocky areas, like if I'm resculpting a neck or putting in like a base structure for a leg or something that doesn't need any real detail to it. Then I will be using Milliput, but if I'm having to do things that require a lot of micro detailing and a longer work time, then I use the epoxy sculpt. I used to work for a company with an account and bought a few sticks every day. They're all rock hard now. Yeah, that's the other thing about Milliput is it dries out in the tube, which I also found quite annoying because like that's money down the drain, isn't it? I mean my epoxy sculpt here is doing the same thing, but annoyingly it's only the hardening compound that does it, not both, which means I'm left with a jar of usable stuff and a jar of unusable stuff, and unfortunately you can't like buy them separately, or at least you can't on their official site. Last time I checked, it might be different now, but oh, I know Volodymyr. It's shocking. It's truly shocking. I mean, obviously we can't go telling everyone they exist. I mean, that would be terrible. They would probably all go and hide in caves again. They don't cut. No, they don't. It's really annoying. Like these have screw lids, which I think is far better because you can actually keep the air out. But even so, as I say, like the hardening compound, everybody has this problem in the model horse community. The hardening compound, it just goes. There's nothing you can do about it. It just slowly hardens all on its own, which is so annoying. But oh well. Car body filler is the same stuff, but just more fluid to make it a paste rather than a putty. Oh, okay. I actually had some car body filler a while ago that I was going to use to try and take out the marks in a model I was using. I got a model horse that had really prominent moulding lines all over it, which of course you don't want in a model horse. And back then I didn't have a Dremel, so sanding them off was not obviously an option. So I was going to use car body filler to get rid of the sanding lines, but ultimately I ended up scrapping the entire project anyway, so I ended up not doing that. No idea whether it would have worked. Yeah, it probably would be insanely messy. Obviously now that I have a Dremel, I can just sand marks in models out. I don't need to worry about what the surface of a model is like anymore. But yeah, it was very annoying at the time. But I mean, I don't even work on horses like that anymore. That was back in the day, long before I discovered the Schleich sort of thing. And I got one of those plastic Barbie-looking horses that have soft flocking all over them. And I peeled all the flocking off, hoping that there would be a smooth horse underneath that I could repaint. There was not. It was covered in mould lines where all the flocking had been adhered, and I was not impressed. So ultimately it ended up going in the bin along with the others when I realised that Schleich horses were not only a thing but far more popular as well into the bargain. Right, that's more like what I was going for the saddle. Obviously I'm going to be building that up in bits and pieces as it dries so that it doesn't get squished when I put more pieces on. Just keep that balanced on some things so that it doesn't squish the back of the saddle. Right, how's your thing looking now it's drying? Okay. Not terrible. Needs a bit of sanding, I think. Hi, Pug Lover. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. Suppose you could thicken body filler with whatever. The thinner is polyester dust. The resin is just the epoxy or polyurethane. Yeah. Again, really not sure that's something I would ever use on a model, but could be an interesting experiment at some point. I know some hobbyists do use something called liquid clay to put veins and stuff on their models. I've never tried that. I've never personally bought any. But that is quite a popular thing, especially among briar artists. I don't see schlag artists using it very much, but briar artists definitely do. This stream will probably only be the hour again, like last time, because it is extremely hot, and I don't want to get too warm. I get heat exhaustion very easily, so I don't want to be getting over warm, of course, but this project will also reach a point where I won't be able to sculpt any more on it, of course, as well, so but I will, of course, weather and circumstances permitting, be back next Monday as usual. Okay, Cirrus, no problem. Hope you survive. Do with my glove. try to sculpt as many of the sort of scrolling details that I see in carousel ponies as possible, because I'm not sure that that's something I could feasibly create with actual tack. I do plan on making this model a real leather bridle further down the line. That's definitely something I do want to do. But obviously real carousel horses have a lot of sculpted scroll work and coils and spirals everywhere to give them like a very grand look, I suppose. They're meant to be very regal and fantastic, I suppose is the term I would use. And I'm quite liking how that is looking at the moment. Obviously this will probably need a hell of a lot of sanding once it's cured. Because there are all sorts of marks that get into clay that you don't see until you prime the thing. You know that from experience. But for an overall shape, I don't hate it. Obviously the back of the saddle has a few discrepancies, but that will be hidden later down the line because I will be covering the back of it with the design. Welcome back, Cirrus. Enjoy lurking. we go. I think that's a pretty good basis for a carousel pony saddle, and of course you can see some of the basic leg structure coming through now with where the joints are, for the hind legs especially. I do also still have this model's original hooves, which I cut off, because I plan to put those back on later. Sculpting hooves is not something I really want to undertake if I can salvage the original ones, so that is what I will be doing. And of course, things like stirrups as well, I will also be making from real wire and leather, as well as the bridle. And I'm also going to be sculpting on like a chest harness. A lot of carousel ponies have those, which usually has their name on it. But I don't currently have a name in mind for this particular model yet. I'm sure he'll tell me what it's supposed to be when he starts developing more of a character and a personality. Right now it's a little hard since he doesn't even have a head to really come up with a name suggestion. But I'm sure that, like most of my models, he will tell me what he wants to be at some point down the line. Let's get rid of that discrepancy there. So yes, this guy will likely be back in my next stream for the rest of his legs. And by that point I might also have a video out on his head, but we'll see. So for now I'm going to call it for this stream and go and find myself some dinner. So thank you all so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. I really appreciate every single one of you taking the time out of your day to come and hang out with me here in the studio and just chat about life and horses for a while. So yeah, thank you ever so much for being here. Stay safe, stay hydrated in this weather, of course, and I will see you all hopefully next week. Bye-bye.